Nothing so needs reforming as other people's habits. Fanatics will never learn that, though it be written in letters of gold across the sky. It is the prohibition that makes anything precious. Mark Twain.
The only way to solve the problem of drunkenness, many believed, was to get rid of the saloon.
When I went to Medicine Lodge, Kansas, there were 7 dives where drinks were sold. I began to ask, why should we have the saloon when Kansas was a prohibition state and our Constitution made it a crime to manufacture, barter, sell, or give away intoxicating drinks? These dive keepers really were not as much to blame as the city officials who were in league with this lawless element and could see the wicked walking on every side and the vilest men exalted. Carrie Nation.
Carrie Nation's life was filled with tragedy. Her mother died in an insane asylum, convinced she was Queen Victoria. Her first husband drank himself to death. A second unhappy marriage would end in divorce. She determined to give herself over to the struggle against what she called the place where the serpent drink crushed the hopes of my early years, the saloon. Kansas had already banned the sale of alcohol in every one of its 105 counties, but the state's dusty cow towns and large cities alike were filled with thirsty men, and no one paid much attention to the law. As president of the Barber County WCTU, Carrie Nation had led peaceful marches that had had little effect, wrote letters to legislators and lawmen that were never even answered, and eventually became convinced God wished her to do more.
On the 6th of June, 1900, before retiring, I threw myself downward at the foot of my bed and told the Lord to use me in any way to suppress the dreadful curse of liquor. I told him I wished I had 1,000 lives, that I would give him all of them. And I wanted him to make it known to me some way. The next morning, before I awoke, I heard these words very distinctly. Go to Kiowa, and I'll stand by you.
The next morning, with an armload of what she called smashers, rocks and bottles wrapped in paper to look like harmless packages, she strode into a saloon in Kiowa.
I told the owner, Mr. Dobson, get out of the way. I don't want to strike you, but I'm going to break up this den of vice. I began to throw at the mirror and the bottles below the mirror. Mr. Dobson and his companion jumped into a corner, seemed very much terrified. From that, I went to another saloon until I had destroyed 3. The other dive keepers closed up, stood in front of their places, and would not let me in. By this time, the streets were crowded with people. One boy, about 15 years old, seemed perfectly wild with joy. I have since thought of that being a significant sign, for to smash saloons will save the boy.
She dared the sheriff to arrest her. He did not. She moved on to Wichita to attack the most opulent saloon in town, the bar in the Hotel Carrie. When a policeman arrested her there for defacing property, she shouted at him, "I am defacing nothing. I am destroying." "You put me in here a cub," she said from behind bars, "but I will go out a roaring lion, and I will make all hell howl." Her exploits were front-page news. Hundreds of congratulatory telegrams arrived from all over the country. As soon as she got out, she attacked another saloon, this time with the weapon that would become her symbol, a hatchet. Jailed and released once more, she moved on to the town of Enterprise, did further damage there, and then appeared in Topeka, the state capital, and home to dozens of flourishing saloons, all of them illegal. The leaders of the Topeka WCTU declared themselves not in accord with her methods. "I tell you, ladies," she answered, "you don't know how much joy you will have until you begin to smash, smash, smash." The governor implored her not to do any more damage. She told him that if he didn't enforce the law, she had no choice. "You are a woman," he said, "and a woman must know a woman's place." She walked out of his office and called for a hatchetation. Many Kansans believed Nation was at least half mad, but hundreds of women and a smaller number of men rallied to her, bringing their own stones and bricks, sticks and hatchets, and calling themselves the Home Defenders Army. Proprietors of the local saloons tried and failed to stop them. She and her followers tore apart a joint favored by state legislators called the Senate, then went on to smash a second bar, a barn filled with saloon fixtures, and a warehouse stacked high with barrels of beer. That day, Carrie Nation was jailed and released 4 times. Within the month, her admirers would attack more than 100 saloons in at least 50 Kansas towns. Anxious state legislators rushed through a bill to strengthen enforcement of the law and pacify her and her Home Defenders Army. It was a remarkable victory. Carrie Nation hoped her movement would spread across the country and sweep away all of the nation's saloons. But once again, like the Woman's Crusade, it died almost as quickly as it had arisen. Carrie Nation never stopped crusading, in saloons and churches, lecture halls, even on the vaudeville stage. For many, she became a figure of fun, even ridicule. But so long as she lived, bartenders never stopped keeping a wary eye out for her and her dreaded hatchet.
Every movement needs some people to call attention to itself by bold action. She knew that you had to draw attention, and you needed the press following you. You had to make the right enemies. I don't think she's at all representative of the movement. She's simply the one who called attention to it. And then patient, hard-working people followed through.